All right. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Bookmap live trading webinar. This is Bruce at Bookmap, and we're doing the live analysis Monday, only Monday this week. I am off actually, after Monday. But we will have Jay Trader, and Scott is off this week as well due to vacation. So kind of a thin week. However, we do have Tom B. He will be going every day at 11:30 East Coast time. So right after this webinar ends, he will be presenting Monday through Friday. So good stuff there. Let's go through the disclosures, and then we'll jump right into the markets here. General disclosure. All Bookmap Limited materials, information, and presentations are for educational purposes only and should not be considered specific investment advice nor recommendations. Risk disclosure: trading futures, equities, and digital currencies involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. Okay, so welcome everybody. Let's jump into these markets here and see what's going on. Looking at the S&P E-mini, we can look at whatever you guys like, but we're going to start here with the S&P E-mini. That's what most people want to see, and then we'll start to go through it here. All right, so we don't have a lot of data this week, so looking like it's going to be more about the kind of geopolitical as well as technical areas to take a look at here. Let's jump over and take a look at higher time frame as well. What's going on in here? This is really interesting. We were looking for this last Thursday, well, we can start with the daily chart here and start to go through it, because this is exactly what we had discussed. So starting Monday last week, we had a negative view, bearish view. It was Monday and Tuesday, very challenging days, even though the candles look pretty simple and straightforward. It basically, the price would kind of really hover. It still tried to go higher. And then, end of the day or over on the overnight, we had these down days. Where did we go? We went down to this previous area and these wicks down here. This was something we were looking for, or at least some of the swings here. And some of these lower areas in here where we previously found buyers, we found them again. Okay, so what did we do? Well, we dipped below here on this daily chart, and then we see the buyers come back in. Once we saw that, and we see this, even this gap here, this was I think Friday, right, on the hourly chart, or maybe on the 15-minute chart here, we were looking for these wicks up here. Okay, well, here's where we opened up. Above these areas and above these wicks in here. So a lot of people got stopped out up in here. We were looking for stops to be triggered above this area, and then if we could get up here above this area too. Look what we've done. Okay, now this is something to take away on the bigger picture and really understand in terms of order flow. And I'm going to take a step back here. We went through the daily. The hourly last week was challenging. It really doesn't give us much of a direction here. We know there's buyers and sellers in this market on the hourly. 15-minute chart last week, well, we had we're looking for the move to the downside, and it did unfold into these wicks like we were talking about before. And then we saw the buying pressure come back in. We had a gap up here on what was this, on the 7th? It's not the 7th. I forget what day that was. Let's see here. It was on the 12th or 14th. I'm sorry. So yeah, this would be on Thursday, I believe. And then the momentum here on this hourly. Okay, not to be denied. And yeah, we continued, and we even closed higher here. So the point is, when you see gaps like this and you see a move to the downside, look for gap fills on the upside too. Okay, the potential move here. Here's where the close was. The gap has been filled. Right now, and understand what that means here. Just because the gap's filled, now that can be based in a strategy, is rather meaningless. You have to understand what it is. And what it means is, like, this is where sellers came in and this is where the market dropped. Okay, so this is where there's an imbalance. This is a retest back to that area. Okay, now we need to ascertain, are there buyers or sellers in here now in the market right now? That's what we want to know. Okay, but you can shoot for these gaps as potential areas to fill. It's an unfair auction, basically. So the market moved away dramatically, and it has now retested that area. That's what gap fills are about, okay, in a nutshell. Now we're up there. We drew these lines in here earlier, 3,900 last week. Okay, we drew in this one here at 38.40, being a really critical area last week. Okay, before it was touched even on Monday. We knew this was going to be kind of a critical area here. So we're just drawing up our higher time frame lines, understanding market structure here based on these very simple candlestick charts. Okay, just where the price action is, and starting to kind of read the buying and selling pressure in here. Okay, so great. We gapped up today, filled the gap up here, 3,900. I really don't see much right now to tell us very much about buyers and sellers here in the market at the moment. We have another gap here. This is where we gapped up from. Okay, so are we going to see sellers come in? Well, we need to see sellers here, okay, at 38.92. If we do, or maybe a little bit lower, 38.90. If we do, I'm looking for the tops of these previous ranges in here. So about 38.82. It's this area here, 38.82. This is where these previous swings were. Okay, now that's not going to be a full gap fill. The full gap fill would be down here at 65, 67, something like that, 66. Yeah, we'd be looking for, if we see sellers come in at the bottom range here, these are some potential areas to see tested again. Okay, again, same concept here. Unfair auction. Here we go. Look at the candle right now. All right, so here we go. Let's now take a look at Bookmap and see if this is going to be a trap and come back in the middle of range and try to even go higher. Maybe it comes above at 39.20 here. That's another potential area. We've got to cover the other scenario here. Right now, it looks like it's going to fill down to this 82 level. All right, so let's now look at the order flow to give us insight to the direction. Okay, is it a false breakdown or whatever? All right, so it's a lot of selling just came in. We're going to see some stops here. We're down below this swing here already. So yeah, looking to see, let's just zoom in here a little bit more. This liquidity was filled in here. Great. All right, so looking for more sellers here, looking for 86, 85, 83. Here's more on the offer here, okay, underneath this area. So this is a pretty strong move. Okay, from 91 to 87, 3 or 4 points, 5 points, looking for the continuation of the move here. All right, so let's see if we can get a bit more selling right down here at 87, and it's not happening right now. Okay, they're coming back up to the top of this range at 89. Okay, top of the range. Let's take a look here. Now, do we see sellers start to come in? No, not yet. Okay, there's a bit. Here's a little more on the offer. Some exhaustion. Let's see if we get sellers here. Now, we found buyers here. All right, so we got a read there. We found some buyers. Now, what's the reaction after that buying? Now we're getting sellers. Okay, so let's see one more retest here down about 88. And then looking to see if we can get back down into 86, 85, and 84. All right, so yeah, this would be the kind of zone or area in here that we're watching very, very closely. Okay, it's not a trade recommendation, but this is what we're looking at here. Still no commitment at 88, even by the sellers down here at 88. Okay, so we're back up above. So we're still, we didn't see the sellers down here that we're looking for. We saw some. Okay, now we're still bearish here. Okay, we're still bearish. This is the breakdown here around 92. It's just retesting back up here. Okay, we're going to see a nice little stop run in here. And now looking for our sellers again. Okay, there's a few. Okay, it's not quite there yet. Okay, let's see it, sellers. Here you go. You've got the opportunity. Now it's pretty dark in here. Trade right back down to about 87.25 here. Let's see if we can get our sellers and the move down to 87.25. Not yet. More buyers, still squeezing a little higher here. On the bid at 90 here. I'm looking for these guys to transact though. I think we've got enough sellers in here to try to reach these guys and transact. They're still squeezing, still squeezing. All right, let's see here. Let's draw a trend line in here. So I'm just looking for sellers to try to take control here. So there they go. There's a bit. It just continues to squeeze. There's still more on the. Okay, so here we go. More sellers there. Continues to squeeze. And we're above this area where it just broke down from. All right, now they're starting to pull on the bid here. I think we got our sellers in here. Here's a pullback here. And some exhaustion, a bit more selling there, 93. And now we should see a test back down here to about 92.25. And I think these guys will probably get out of the way on the way down here. Okay, so this was tricky. It was a tricky move. All the way back up to here, a little bit above it. Let's put our stops and icebergs on chart here. There's going to be a huge stop run there. It is. $39.40, a bunch of liquidity up there. Thanks, MC Loco. Okay, so sellers down at the trend line here. At the bottom of the trend line, that's good. I mean, we want to see the continuation here. It's the exhaustion, though, up in these areas that we want to really look at. And some of the clusters, it's looking pretty good. I think we're seeing it now. The sellers coming in, they're starting to pull on the offer. So here comes our follow through. Tricky move. I mean, this is something to take away here. Typically we look for the test back to about here where it dropped from, or how aggressive they are, like here, maybe just back to a cluster, and then looking for sellers again, and then the continuation. Okay, what we got instead here is another squeeze back to this cluster here. Okay, so we're not making this stuff up, but you can see the clusters of the selling and the moves back into those areas. Okay, we just see the buyers continue to squeeze here, and then back up to where it dropped from up here. In fact, it came all the way back up and almost tested the tops of these ranges here. Okay, so yeah, it was this was kind of a bit of a tricky move in here, especially after we saw, like, typically when we found some buyers in here, right? We noted this little area. We always look for these insights here. We see some of these buyers come in and they took on that high liquidity here. Great. Okay, well, we found some buyers, but they were not able to get above. So that's where we're looking for sellers down here. Okay, and typically we get our break here. Instead, it continued to squeeze back up above. Okay, so anyway, that, I know that's hindsight. We want real-time order flow analysis here. Still seeing buyers really kind of still testing this. Okay, Andrea. Yeah, we got our. Good morning, Matt. Good morning, everybody. Sorry, I just kind of jumped right in here, but and let me jump over to YouTube and see how everything's going. All right, no questions yet. Okay, this is pretty choppy action. We're looking for sellers to take control from this area and to continue to drive it away. It fits with our higher time frame analysis as well. Looking for 82, right? Well, we're still seeing buyers fight it here. Okay, so let's take a look again at our structure in here. Get rid of this line. All right, because we saw this action all last week, how choppy it was, and it's really kind of a pain. But choppy markets, that's what we have to deal with here. Okay, we're looking for a directional move and follow through. In fact, I have my heat map maybe too interesting. All right. Yeah, well, let's filter that heat map again here. Right click on the heat map and see if we can just get a little more out of it here. All right, so structurally we have some horizontal lines here just to the swings. Okay, we also have a few trend lines in here. And we have 3,900, the figure up here. I want to look at also the 5-minute chart in here, not just the 15-minute. So let's do that. And yeah, 80, we already have that marked up. So here's our 82 level down here. Okay, well, 5-minute chart, we're basically in the middle of the range in here. I mean, it dropped up here, retested it, and we found some buying wicks in here. Okay, sellers in at the bottom or coming back in here. You know, this is something we actually tweeted about the other days here. You know, this kind of choppy action, and we want to really kind of be careful here because we've got a trend line here, and we got a very trappy environment in here. So see how the buyer's trying to take it away from and then squeeze the sellers below this area here. Now they can these buyers might get squeezed now here heavily by the sellers. We're watching here. So we're down here. So sellers are still in control in this very, very small little move in here. So let's see if we get our sellers here at 93. I think we can get a break maybe down to 90. Yeah, not the greatest order flow wise, but that's what we're looking for right now. So we got some sellers here, not many. It's a bit more. All right, sellers, you got it. Drop it. Let's see it down to 90. Trend lines are a joke. Yeah, somewhat. I know there's a lot of traders that look at them though. We're just kind of all we're trying to do with the horizontal lines and the trend lines is mark up some structure. That's it. You know, that structure might be diagonal or it might be horizontal. But we're just trying to get some insight here. Okay, higher highs, higher lows. Then that would be a diagonal line, right? And basically about trend lines, again, it's market structure, but what really matters is who's looking at what. This is why like VWAP is a lot better, I think, in my opinion, than looking at moving averages. Now it depends on how you use those moving averages. If it's someone like JTrader, he's looking for pullbacks, then, you know, and has studied strategies behind that. That's something very, very different. This is set up, actually, you can see the divergence in this here. So it's you know, if you guys like your CVD, you're going to see it in here, some divergence. Oops. Right here and here is due to this buying in here. Okay, so, you know, you can see we're having higher highs here, but lower price. So this kind of divergent setup, I tweeted about this kind of end of the week last week. What we're looking for though is we can get the continuation here, but if we get buyers up here, right, then we can get a nice squeeze. So we'd be looking for buyers up here on this divergent play. Okay, and now we're up here. All right, so let's see. Do we get buyers up here? 93. This is where they can take control of the market, right? Because we look at the divergence. It's beautiful here, right? More the sellers in here, but there's this cluster of buying in here really skewed it and made it divergent. So if we can get up here and we find more buyers, and we already found buyers here, so we're looking for them to take control. Then we're looking for the move to 95, 96, maybe the figure. Okay, so let's see if we get buyers here for this divergent play, and we're looking for the order book to support it as well. We want to see on the bid here. Okay, we got some buyers, no follow through. It's going to be, we're going to see some icebergs there, I'm sure. Okay, why do you think, just For those new to icebergs, why do you think we're going to see icebergs in here? What's your thought on that? My Twitter, our Twitter handle is here. I'll show you on Twitter. It's just Bookmap, and it was this here. This was the diversion play, or analysis. You'll see it, MC Loco. Yeah, I mean, I have a Twitter handle as well. I think it's I used to be pretty active on it, but I haven't been for a bit. What's it called? It is called order flow dynamics, or at flow order, I think is my handle. There's a lot of stuff. Basically, and the reason that I'm mentioning it here is in the past, the whole concept of using it was there's our squeeze, guys. This is, and we're looking for that 95, 96 here. Okay, so this setup here, okay, is a really nice divergent setup. We're looking for our buyers here. We got them, and we're looking for the squeeze higher now. Okay, and these guys in icebergs in here, let's just turn those on. Okay, here's our iceberg right here. You can see that. All right, nice. This is a nice move. This played out really nicely here. It's a choppy day to begin with. Yeah, all of these kind of pieces kind of fit nicely together. The order book didn't give us too much, to be honest. There was not really underneath here too much. This was more based on the aggressors, plus we had an iceberg in here, so that was a conflict as well. Okay, we can see icebergs here, icebergs here. All right, let me just take the stop. Now we have a stop run to the upside, so the job's done basically. They pop the stops, and a nice one too. This is like somewhere around 500 or so, a little bit less. So basically what we're looking at then is a pivot line here at 93. If we get sellers below that, look for the move back down to 90. Here they come. Let's see if we can get that move. Okay, and looking for the order book to help us out here. Guys, I'm sorry, I'm going through a lot of things and it's kind of piecing it together, but I'm trying to do some live analysis here as well as make some points in the meantime. All right, here we go. Sellers, let's see it. Let's see if you can do it. You should be able to do it. If these are a lot of stops in here, now you're going with the icebergs. So looking for sellers, looking for 90. Order book is not helping us out here, so buyers could whip it right back up into 94, 95. But yeah, the analysis, they're looking for the sellers to drop this here. The bid is kind of strong underneath here, so that's not boding well for this continuation move. But it's getting a little more interesting on the offer up here now. Let's see if they pull on the bid, and let's see if we get our sellers. Okay, then we want to move away from this high value or high volume area on our profiles and try to explore lower areas here, right? So for that to happen, we really need to see sellers come in, and we're not seeing that right now. Thanks, MC Loco. Yeah, yeah, it's the point I was trying to make here was this divergent play here. Let me just add this into the bigger tab here. Again, it's still squeezing, so we're looking for our sellers below because this was a stop run and we had icebergs in here, but we didn't have much from the order book, right? We're still looking for that move lower, but boy, it's still popping higher here. It's just kind of choppy day. Anyway, the concept was, or same concept in here. Okay, so we can take a look at this move in the S&P. We had sellers come in again. Quite a bit of heavy buying in here. Look at the bars, look at the dots. Sellers come in, and we're going to have a stop run in here, but we don't see it. I don't have stops on here, but we're going to see it, I'm pretty sure. But due to the heavy buying and this divergence, this is what created the divergence. Okay, no question about it. You can see it, right? So we know that, and we know that there's heavy selling in here, but it doesn't, it pales in comparison to the buying here. Now, the scenario needs to unfold, though. We need to see buyers back up here. Okay, and this is above 38.50 here. So we really need to see the buyers come back up into this area up in here where they can take control, and we'd be looking for the move up into higher liquidity. Okay. If we didn't get the buyers up here, then these sellers in here, or these buyers in here, right, and we got more sellers down here, they're the ones that are going to have to get stopped out. Okay, even more so. And the move back down to this liquidity and maybe this liquidity. Okay, so it's really the context here of we have the divergence, but so what? Like, how many times have you guys been burned on divergences? Or at least I sure have. And thinking, oh, there's divergence, I'm in. And then it just continues to rip against you. Okay, so we need to have that context. We need to see the buyer's interest back up here. Then you've got something. Now you're looking for the move. Okay, that's much higher probability. Okay, if you don't see that, what if it exhausted up here on this retest, and then we come back down and we see more sellers down here? Great, looking for the move lower. Right, the diversion play fails. Right, so that's the point I was trying to make. And then in terms of like the Twitter handle of what is it, flow order, is the idea here is let's just go there. Yeah, there it is. The idea here was that we can show trading activity with some of these. So these are my trades, or like what I was looking for in here to unfold, and I can show trade management in here. All right, so we don't want to show that in our individual or on our Bookmap Twitter handle, right? So that's why we want to show trading activity. Then you can do it in here. It's outside of Bookmap, all right? Because it would not be responsible to put it within here and say like, oh yeah, look at these trades from Bookmap. No, we don't want to do that. We'll show other people's trades, no problem. Okay, we'll retweet. We're a platform. We just want to be very objective about that, and respectful as well. Okay. Do I believe most breakout attempts fail? It depends. It depends on the context. Okay. So, and that context, we'll go through again and again and again. All right, now we've got an interesting kind of range starting to develop here. We've had to redraw this trend line multiple times. See, there's the break below it, right there. Okay, sellers trying to take control, move it away. Okay, it's squeezed higher and higher and higher, back up into these areas here. Now it looks like, see how we have our big volume profile, it traded right back to the middle of it. Now we're seeing sellers come in here. Now, do they have the power to move it away from this area here and explore these lower areas like previously? That's what we're looking for. Yes, looks like they have the size. I'm looking for sellers to drive it lower. Okay, so we had a move here from about 93.5 down to 91. It's about 2.5 points or so. We need to see more than that, but we're looking for it. We're looking for these sellers here. Okay, they're starting to pull on the bid. They're adding on the offer at 94. Let's see the sellers come in here at 91 3/4 and drop it. Okay, so this is what we're looking for, and it's answering that question about breakdowns and breakouts. Okay, we're looking for a lot of selling, and we're looking for a points movement to match that as well, to drive it away from all of this activity here and explore and create a new value area that is down below. That's what we're looking for. Okay, you'll see it again and again and again. That's what it takes. It takes volume and price movement. Okay, if you see the price movement and you don't see the volume, you will likely get a retest back up into where it dropped from. Okay, if you see the volume but no price movement, well, then that can be a trap. And then we can see the buyers come in and try to move it back up and squeeze, okay, which they may do here as well, because we're looking for it, but we didn't have such a price move here, like 93.5 down to 91. That's only 2.5 S&P points. We want to see at least 3 and more, right? Else this is what happens. We can get a squeeze here. Okay, and a squeeze back up into 3,900 here. And this is actually looking pretty nice to play out that way right now. Here, the buying pressure back up into this area here. So it's been tricky morning so far. Sellers had it here. They really did. They were pulling on the bid. They're adding on the offer, and then it just stopped. And this is just like last week, Monday and Tuesday. We saw this a bunch. Okay, our overall analysis, let's go back to that though. Okay, well, we're, this 5 minute, we're just kind of in the middle of this range in here. On the hourly and on the 15-minute, we like this idea of coming back down and filling this gap, or at least the top of this range, minimum, just top of this range. And that has not tested yet. Okay, because we filled the gap up here on the hourly, and looking for just a move back down to here. And we can't even get that right now. Ibuprofen. Any more squeezes and they're going to have to buy you dinner. Well, until we see something that really tells us like a bit more. I mean, I think this little CVD divergent, and also looking for the move higher here was worked out nicely, and that was one of the scenarios here. Now here we go again. We're at our pivot line at 93. Okay, they're on the offer here at 94. We're finding sellers. Okay, they should be able to drive it here. Should be able to drive it right back down into 90 and 88.5. There's a pullback already. Really need to see down here. This is really the bottom of this. You can see the profile in here, which just if we just zoom out again, and what do we mean by the profile? Is this all these traders down here, and then there's only this much down below it, right? That's what you get down here. Just there's not many prints down here compared to up above here. right? This area here. So this is going to be an important area for them to break as well. So we can get rid of these lines here. In fact, let's just go into edit mode. Okay, all of these traded up here. Probably get rid of this. All right, sellers, let's see the move here. All right, looking good, looking pretty good here. Retest already. Okay, still don't have all of the pieces here. We're still looking for this move to unfold. It's just still, it's not high probability now, because we just don't have that clean, clear look here in the order flow. Buyers can come back in, rip it right back up into 95 here. Okay, we're going to go with the move lower though. We're finding some sellers. We're finding see the offer in here starting to kind of brighten up a little bit, more bluish in here. So anyway, we mentioned this last week that I think could be really a nice way to look at this is look at your prime setup, prime setups when the order flow really matches. Okay, and it really gives you that clarity and insight. When you don't have all the pieces, you can still go with your bias here in the order flow, but just note that you don't have all the pieces, and that you're probably going to have to shift your trading activity. Okay, so or your sizing, right? And just take less risk. Okay, because this is the move we're looking for. Now it's doing it now. Okay, so now, and we've come back down, we've broken below, we're down into this area here below. We should have drawn this line up, sorry. Whoops. Here, this is really the critical area. Okay, we need to see sellers below it here and continuation, and that's what we're looking for. What do I mean by order flow, Brian? Okay, yeah. So we're looking at the well, we're basically looking at the context between aggressors. Well, all the orders here, and what we're looking at and trying to ascertain is direction based on the activity of the participants. Some are committed. This is why traded volume is a really important element. Let's take the heat map off. Right now, we're just looking at best bid and offer and transactions. And a lot of traders look at just transactions. Okay, it is very telling, especially with market structure. And that's why we're putting these lines in here to look at market structure, okay, and some insight or understanding of what like a value area or a zone or whatever. And that's all we're marking up here, is just zones and understanding, just like we did on this time frame here. Okay, so now we're getting down there. We're seeing the sellers starting to come in, right? And we're still getting a wick here on the buy side. So, and this back up here. Now what we need to see is the sellers recommit here. Okay, that there's a buying wick in here, and they're trying to kind of move it back up into these areas here where it can trade. right? Because we know there's a lot of transactions up here. These areas are kind of outside of that value area. All right, so now we're looking for sellers, and then in the order flow, what we're looking for here is a lot of big red dots and price movement to drive it away from that previous area. That's what we want to read here. Okay, so that's one reading of the order flow and understanding of order flow. Transactions here. Okay, these are market sell orders, the red dots. Market buy orders are the green dots. Okay, see how there's more selling down here. Now, because of this down here, now we're looking to see for sellers to try to break it here at this 88.5. And look, see the buyers come in and try to retest back up here. And if they can, then we got to think about like who's going to have to bail. And it would be these sellers in here. They're committed to the sell side. And then they'll have to be buyers back up above, and that's how you get your short squeezes. Okay, so now transactions is good, and we can start to read, more selling at some of these areas down here. We're looking for less buyers up here at the top of the range. That gives us a skew, an understanding that sellers can now explore lower areas here. Now here's the squeeze, right? It's been squeezing almost every single move here. And look at the counter. A ton of selling just coming in. Okay, and these are not icebergs. All right, I'm still looking for sellers to come in and drop this here. Okay, just based on the volume. Now, the order flow, when we look at transactions, is good, but there's a whole nother side to it, and that is what about the passive orders, the limit, not the market buy and sell orders, but the limit buy and sell orders. Well, this is where there are buyers in the auction on the bid. They're down here at 88.5, 87, 85 and 3/4, and 85 down here. Just in this view alone, there's even more down below. Okay, so if these sellers come in, this is where they can find the majority of the buyers. Okay, in the heat map, the scale of the heat map, red and orange, very high liquidity, then yellow, then white, then blue, and then black is the least amount. So did that answer your question, Brian? Okay, this is context between buyers and sellers that we're looking at here to give insight. Great. Excellent. Thank you, Brian. All right, let's see it. Sellers down here is what we're looking for. We have a little bit on the offer up here, and we're looking for that context now. We had some selling down here. We're looking for it to continue. There they are. Now, let's see the continuation. Now, how do you manage something like this, right? Well, you'd have to basically just jump in someplace here. And then, like, where you place your stop, boy, if I see buyers start to come in, even in these little levels in here, basically I'm out. Or maybe I place it up here, but I don't like it being dark in here. The buyers can whip it right up into 90, 91. That's why I do not think this is high probability. Okay, it's not a prime scenario here. Okay, it's a scenario, but it's not prime scenario. Okay, so still looking for sellers down here. And we're looking for the drop. Okay, so see what the buyers did. They whipped it up into 91. And if they can get up above this, that means back to that scenario here, that all of these guys in here, all these sellers in here are going to be buyers up here, all the way back to like 95 or maybe even higher. All right, so anyway, I would have been out of this trade. That's it. Give it a shot for a directional move, and that's it. Take a small loss, look for the next. Okay, now let's go over just the trade sizing in here. Because it's not a prime scenario here, wouldn't put much on it. Okay, I would reduce the size. Still looking for the move, but I would reduce the size. And another thing about the stop is, by looking and reading the order flow here, we're looking for this to work right now. Okay, that's the beauty of order flow, is like we should get the move and it should unfold now. If it doesn't, something's wrong. Okay, so get out. Okay, and then if something's right, well, then you just hold it until you see something that changes your mind in the order flow. Okay, another order flow reading that tells you to get out. Okay, you also have targets to hit. Brian, sometimes it's a really good point, Brian. Sometimes the simplest things are what stumps me the most. Exactly. You know, we've all been whipped around by education in so many different ways. So we try to be very, very clear and objective with our education here, because we can do that. We don't have to say, oh, you know, like look at this candlestick pattern or whatever, and no, we're looking directly at the orders here, and understanding it as an auction, and that has more a higher probability of working out, I feel. So anyway, what I want to show here is our education, and it's very different than other people's education. So go to Bookmap on YouTube and scroll down, and then go to under bonus material here. Go to Bookmap educational course, and it's here. And watch part 1. Start with part 1. Part 2 is kind of what we're going over, and we're kind of doing part 2 and part 3 and a little bit of part 4. So part 1 is just understanding the auction. Okay, buyers and sellers, and what makes the market move, the basic market mechanics. This is really important. And then second is here, understanding those market mechanics within volume profile and microstructure, okay, or just market structure. And then the part 3 is going over, again, order flow within structure, and then we're looking at actually in part 3 we're looking at potential setups as well. And then part 4 adds in confluences and correlations, okay, and add-ons. So the add-ons like stops and icebergs, cumulative volume delta, etc., okay, to give you insight. I mean, this is just horrible action in here. Like this is a nice squeeze in here again, to the well, if you're looking for a directional move, it's pretty horrible, right? If you guys are looking for that squeeze to continue, because it has like just about every single time, then this has been pretty profitable day for you. Okay, because you see those buyers come in at the top edge here, and they continued, and they squeeze these guys. Watch the stop run here. We'll see it. We might get to the figure right now. This might be a really good move to the figure at this point, because all of this is trapped. And anyone in here, any sellers in here that is still in this is likely going to be stopped out above here at 97. So what does that mean? We know that there are buyers above here is what it means. So let's test up there. Let's see like if the market can find its way up here. Yeah, I have the bonds and the notes up here, or maybe just the notes. Yeah, just the notes. And this is a great correlation. Mexilo. Yeah, I really like looking at correlated markets. I think it can give a lot of insight. You're looking for, well, look, bonds or the notes going down. Well, S&P should be going up. That is the correlation, right? Typically, very typically. Sometimes not. These markets usually follow through too, which is really nice. I mean, they're so deep. Look at this. Each price level, except for best bid and offer, each price level has over 1,000 contracts on each one. Really, really deep markets here. So you can get a lot of insight from the bonds and the notes, right? And there's your correlation. They're going down, S&P's going up. Oh, and you're looking at the Bund as well. Yeah, that's another great one. And that one moves nicely. Let's see, what's the supply zone about supply and demand? Very, very simple. Like we're showing in the heat map. You can look in the COB or current order book column. Okay, this is your kind of depth of market here. So, but we're showing it in the heat map form graphically. Okay, so these orange areas, we know they're high liquidity, right? So this is your supply, or I'm sorry, this is your demand down here. This is where they're buyers. They're looking for buying here is what they're showing in the auction. Your supply zone is up here, 3,900. All right, let's see if we can get another squeeze here, guys. It looks pretty good already. See the sellers here, okay, but the buyers are still moving higher. So we're looking to see if we can get buyers right around here, 94. I want to see this bid light up. I want to see these guys pull at 95. And then we can get up to 97, and this might be a nice move up into the figure here as well. So let's look for that. Yeah, looking good. I like it. Let's see the move continue here. We got all those pieces here. So now we've tested the top of the range. Okay, looking for a breakout now of that range. And sellers are fighting it. This is another kind of strategy. When you we just made it to the top of the range. That was it. And then the sellers bring it back down to the bottom of the range. We had the pieces though. Okay, pulling here, adding in here, buyers looking for 97. Higher liquidity in here, but the sellers took them on. Okay, and that disrupted this. Anyway, what I was going to point out is another potential strategy. This is a very small range in here, but you'll see it on bigger ranges as well. It doesn't really matter. Is that once you see that, we're not out of a range yet. So you're just looking for the top of the range and you can take some profit. And then look for a runner. Okay, in this case, maybe you took some profit up at 95 or so, and then you got stopped out on the rest. Okay, you move your stop at break even. Okay, so now we're back down into our pivot line down here, and we're looking for if we're going to get our sellers down here. Oh, okay, Brian. Yeah, so that you watched all that, the educational course. Yeah, I think you'll find that very helpful. Okay, MC Loco. Yeah, you like your CVD divergence. Let's see here. Um, Doug is showing some guys. If you want to jump over to Discord as well, it's open, free to all. In the advanced webinar hashtag advanced webinar area, that's where you can see some of the other traders in here with their comments and insights. Doug, for example, is looking at a correlation between the S&P E-mini and SPY, and he's looking at options. And he's looking at a bearish overall tone here. Okay, due to, you'd have to come in here, and here I can show you here. Here's the some of the images that he's presenting. All right, so this is based off of one of our partners from Spot Gamma. All right, so anyway, yeah, you guys might want to come and check that out. There's some really good stuff in there and some really good traders. Yeah, I find it really weird. Like, it's just why. I mean, I know we have a ton of buying up here, but sellers able to. This is where sellers can really take control of this market, because they got all these guys like long here buying, and yet why are we still hovering up here? You know, looking for the squeeze to the downside. They got one here. We see one really nice squeeze here, right? This red line here stops. And just looking for another one though. And buyers is still continuing to fight, trying to push this higher and squeeze it. And this is our high volume node. We're right at it here. So this is exactly where we look. This is value. In a range, we're just looking at areas where it's right in the middle of the range, basically. So, you know, this is where a lot of transactions have taken place. Good morning, David. What's David got cooking here? Oh, okay, David. So you're getting into the options as well here. Interesting. Okay. So we have some interesting analysis here on some of the options. This is a beautiful thing here. Look at this lower high, no buying up here. Sellers starting to roll in. Okay, based on this, we look for sellers to try to hit the bottom of the range. Okay, so looking for 87 or so down here, right? Our exhaustion, our structure, our sellers looking for the move, you know, to test this liquidity here. As simple as that. So, you know, this is where you're looking to get in somewhere around in here, and you're looking to take some partial profit down here around 88. Okay, now based off of this, okay, now it's still not, even after that said, it's still not really a prime setup here, because we still don't see much commitment here on the offer, and we don't see so much pulling on the bid either. Right, but we have the potential here by the aggressors. It's looking pretty good. Now they're starting to show a little more on the offer up here, a little more supply. Okay, so yeah, we're looking for this to trade back down to like 88, bottom of the range, and then take some off. Where do you get involved? In some place in here when you see these sellers start to roll in, or here's your pullback here, more on the offer here. Okay, so. And again, it's not prime, Therefore, you'd be trading on reduced size. But this is the way you're looking to go. And now again, these are not trade recommendations. It's just reading the order flow, and we're going to talk a bit about setups, and we're going to talk a little bit about trade management. Okay, but again, the bigger picture here is this is about order flow, and then like how you can start to maybe dissect that and weave into your strategies. Like early on in the webinar, someone said, basically trend lines are BS. Well, for him, yeah, we're just marking up structure. So obviously he's not a trend line trader. Okay, fine. Well, in fact, what if you're still in here? I forget who it was. Let me know what do you trade? What do you look at? And then we'll take a look at order flow in terms of that filter. B Squenzes. Yeah, if you're still in here, then let us know. So, we've been talking about kind of range bound. We've been talking about trend lines. We've been talking about volume profile here. So many different ways to kind of slice and dice it here. Brian, no problem. No, it's great. It's great that you watched those videos. That's great. That'll provide you a great foundation. So it's basic market mechanics, and it's very different education than most others. Most others, because they're not accessing that kind of information, and then that will allow you to then apply that to any trading strategy. So I was just ending up here. We can apply these market mechanics here, be it trend lines, horizontal lines, ranges. It could be fib levels. I think fib levels are BS, or it could be moving averages or whatever it is, or volume profile, whatever it is. Then apply your order flow. Okay, so we're still looking for this to drop, and we have our reasons behind it. Okay? Being objective with the reasoning by reading the order flow is the key. All right, sellers, let's see it if you can do it here. Looking for it. I just don't like that. See how it's all dark all the way up until there's supply up here, basically. So buyers can whip it right back up here, into some of these areas here. But aggressor wise, looking pretty good for a drop, right? Without the heat map here, looking pretty good for a drop. Not seeing buyers, not many buyers, more sellers down here. Okay, so a little bit more here, that ought to kick it off at 89.5. A little more selling here, that ought to kick it off, and we ought to get the breakdown. Okay, just by these two elements here alone. Okay, we put the heat map on. That's when we get the extra insight, though. Interesting stuff, David. I like what you're doing with these option studies in there. UVXY, a stock. Yeah, we can take a look at that. Guys, our move is it's looking pretty good again here. I'm and we got a lot of a lot of back and forth in here. Yeah, it's still pretty dark in here though, and they can come back up into 93, 92, 93. But this is a nice cluster here. It looks like it's getting ready to finally move here. Boy, and we're not looking for much. Our higher time frame here, we're not looking for much. It's just we're just finding wicks down here in this 5 minute, still continuing to buy here. All right, well, let's this is something I've been wanting to mention for a while in here. We're seeing the buying wicks in here, right? So let's just go. Can I make these bigger? Hold on. Whoops. God, I don't know how to do it. All right. Anyway, here we go. This is how we do it. Minute bars. There we go. Okay. All right. So that's not it quite either. All right, we'll have to just go with the wicks. All right, so we have some wicks down here. Okay, well, where were there sellers in this range? Okay, based on this 5 minute chart in here. Okay, they're up here, right? 95. So we've been basically banging around here. What we've been looking for in this webinar is the continuation move. Okay, back down to 80, 82 or so, 80 or 82. And we're looking for sellers down here, and then we're looking for a continuation. Now it's tested down here a couple times, and we're still seeing sellers here. This is even better now, looking for the continuation at this point. All right, let's look at the order flow. We're getting our sellers. All right, looking for the continuation. Now we're a little bit behind on this one. It would maybe be looking for a pullback here, or you're already in it, right around in this area, right in here. Now you would have felt a little bit of squeeze right there, but we're looking for the continuation. Okay, now this should work now, right? So again, like you'd be getting involved in somewhere around in this area in here. Since we're looking at a higher time frame, we kind of missed a little bit, but we might get a pullback here. Again, in terms of prime, it's not. It's just not. We're not seeing this commitment on the offer here. We're just seeing the aggressors here. Okay, by the aggressors though, it looks good, right? So we're looking for it. We've got a couple pieces here. We got structure and we've got the aggressors. We just don't have the heat map. Okay, but we're looking for the follow through. I mean, that we got to go with, it's not prime, it's kind of secondary trade idea. One thing I do like though on the higher time frame here is we're down here yet again. Okay, do we find buyers yet again is the question. Okay. Usually when you get a couple of some tests back down here, this is where you find the sellers, and they're able to drive it through 80 or 80 kind of 6 level here, and then hit down to lower levels, explore and hit lower levels here. Okay, we're just not finding buyers lift it back up into the highs here, 95, 96. And we got that earlier. We got our 95, 96 up here. We already had that move. Okay, now we're making lower highs and lower lows here. Okay, and yet again another squeeze, top of the range. Okay. Structurally, it still made a lower high here and a lower low here. So still looking for the move lower. Okay, and then there's a lot more selling in here than there is buying here. Okay, and the sellers started to take control up here. Okay, so they are still in control. Yeah, liquidity is getting filled on these dips. MC Loco, that's a good point, right? So these guys are buying here, right? In here, they're getting filled. Okay, we're coming up on our European close as well. So maybe one scenario to look for is like wait till this kind of chop finishes and look for the follow through after the European close. A lot of times you get your directional move right after. Yeah, let's turn on. So Chris is asking about the CVD. We'll take off stops and icebergs for the moment, just to clarify here. Well, yeah, here here's CVD dropping, but price is dropping too. But they are getting filled in here, so we're seeing CVD really kind of drop here, but it's kind of slowed down because they're in here getting filled on the and stopping the price from moving lower. No, not I don't really see divergence in here right now, Chris. We saw the beautiful divergence in here. Okay, we do have a lot of buying up here. Okay, so no, CVD looks pretty good right now. Maybe a little divergence here is maybe what you're talking about. A little more buying up here compared to over here, and it's not able to get higher. Yeah, that's showing weakness basically. But we did get higher here now. Oh, okay, you have them split out. Okay, well that's a nice feature we have here in Bookmap. If you go to your split them out here, and we'll go to also our colors, make them. So you're looking at this view here. Yeah. Okay, so they're both going to be positive values in here. Just, and then you see the kind of the move away by one or the other. Yeah, it's a good view. I mean, it's not my thing, but I like to look at just one line. It's green because it's above the 0 line. That's the only difference here. It's not a buy signal or anything. It's just above the 0 line. If it's below the 0 line, it'll be red. In fact, let's see, I have it on chart range. If I put it on session range, you'll see it's all green in here right now because it's above the 0 line, which is where, yeah, 0 line's way down here, right? So this is that move up and that gap up at 9:30. Another thing too, I know a lot of you guys are looking at, or a lot of traders are looking at the first hour to hour and a half of trading. You know, this is where, and here's why. If we look at our candlestick chart, let me go to a 15-minute chart here for a minute. You get these kind of, well, you can't really see it too well, it's kind of stacked up, but you get these volume smiles in here. Really a lot of volume in the open, and then it tapers off the rest of the day and then picks up at the end of the day. Okay, so you get this kind of volume smile is what it's called. So what does that mean? Well, we're looking for the majority of the volume in here in the beginning of the session. And what we want to look at, or why traders look at that, is then who's like in control in that volume period, that high volume period, and where would they be out of control, right? So if there's a whole bunch of buying in here on the overall balance or imbalance, which we have imbalance indicators here, or you can look at CVD as well. I mean, there's a bunch of buying in here, in fact. Even though it's going lower, there's a bunch of buying in here. All right, well, where would they get upended? Well, they'd certainly be upended below 88 here. Certainly. And that's the move we're looking for. All right, so that's how you can get your directional moves, or one way to get them. If you're just looking in this, is in essence, it is the same concept here of a volume cluster. Okay, the cluster just happens to be this here. All right, so now if that's one big cluster, then we're looking for a move away from the cluster down to here, or into the cluster. Could be in here, maybe it just is range bound the rest of the day, or a move away from the cluster. All right, now let's just take that to a more granular level in here. These volume clusters is the same in concept. It's the same. It's not in concept at all. It is volume clusters. Okay, and we're looking at the majority and the commitment of these traders in here, okay, in the auction. Okay, so we look for that in ranges in here and start to draw those up. Okay, so for example, let's look at from this range on down, and let's put that within our range here. Okay, from here to the current market. All right, we have volume imbalances in here, volume is equal. Okay, there's a book and balance. There's more on the offer here by 14%, 17%. Okay, so let's see, do we get some sellers then? If we get some sellers, then let's see if they can drop it back down to 88. Okay, there's a skew in supply up here. And it's pretty dark in here, so sellers can pretty easily drop it down to 88. Right? And there's all sorts of trading strategies you can evolve from that information right there. So top of the range, there's an imbalance, looking to trade it back into the range. You have supply up here. They didn't get out of the way. Getting our sellers here. Now, if the sellers can get through that little range in here, is the high volume node is right here in that range, right here. If we get sellers below this, we have a higher probability of trading down to 88 and 87. And here they are. Okay, sellers, they've got it here. All right, they can take control and move it to 88. Right now, one way to possibly manage this, then a consideration would be to, you get involved here, then you're looking for taking out a partial profit down at 88, maybe one tick in front of it. Now, if it doesn't work, you have a very, very easy risk assessment here. Just get out here, around here, 90 3/4. You can have a very tight stop here because it should work. We see sellers, they're below that high volume node. Right? We came up to this top of the right. In fact, you could even get involved here, trade it back down to POC, take some off and look for the bottom of the range and take your full profit, or try to hold it for a runner because you're looking for the overall trend direction here. Right? So there's 3 different ways to consider that there. Right? And what we're talking about, again, like what Brian was asking, we're talking about the order flow, the conditions of the orders within this range that we just studied. Okay, we know where the buyers and sellers are. Okay, we know where there's supply and there's demand. Right? And we're reading that context in here. And that's what's giving us the insight. See how, like, if we were just looking at that range, and the point of control is here at 90.5, and we saw sellers below it. Okay, now they're providing liquidity here, and they just got out of the way. Okay, now we're back up here, and buyers are in here. Now they're going to try to flip these sellers in here that are going to try to trap them, and then they're going to try to trade it back up to the end of this range. Right, so the point of control is a battle right now of this little range in here. Right, anyway, this, if you got involved in this is why I like to front run and try to take a profit. I would have had a full position on, and I would likely be out. Yeah, I'd be out. It didn't work. Everything was set up for it nicely. It didn't work. This is where buyers came in and totally upended it here. Okay, and they're going to go for the other side of the range. Okay, and see, look how they're even supporting it here underneath. And we're getting buyers, and they're pulling here. Great. We can even go higher here, 94. Okay, 95. Okay, looking pretty good to go to 94. Maybe 95, 95.50. Okay, so it's been choppy, but this is the order flow. And we saw it in here. This is what we're looking at, this little area in here. A little bit higher. Somewhere around in here. That was the point of control of that range. And that's no different than using the point of control for your bigger range here, which happens to be right at it anyway, or we're right at it right now. Yeah, cash flow hunter. The volume dots are basically a graphical time in sales, in horizontal time in sales. Here, let's open up a time in sales column. So as you see these numbers here, like the size here is representative of the the dots in here. Okay, it's actually not a one-to-one representation here. These are volume dots in here. We'd have to go to the volume dot settings. If you really want to see it, then you'd have to go to total volume in here, and you'd really zoom in here, because total volume will give you a delta in here as well, but with a pie display, which can be kind of hard to read. Anyway, like once you start to zoom in here, and you'll split out every single transaction, right, down to the nanosecond or billionths of seconds. But when we start see how these red are here, we're still looking at 10 microseconds here, right? But if once I zoom out a little bit more, then that becomes a pie display, right? This will show you your time in sales, your horizontal. Okay, this is kind of a representation of it. When we look at the delta here, it's buy minus sell. Okay, so you won't see that in the dot. See how it just absorbed these in here, and it just made this green a little bit smaller. That's what it does. Okay, so right now, if we look at it, the delta is what? 23, right? Now we're going to add these two into it, and it'll probably be 22, right? Or 24. Let's see. Oh, because we added these two in here as well. 21, 23, 1, and 1. So volume 23, and now it's 21. There we go. So there's your calculation. Okay, so it was 23 minus those two cells, so it's 21. All right, just want to make the distinction so you guys know exactly what it is, right? If you're going to try to match that up with your time in sales. Okay, we got up to 94. Was still looking for it, actually looking for 95 and a half here. Tough day. Yeah, I do look for divergences every now and then. Usually, Chris, I don't use the CVD too much. You can kind of see the divergences in the order flow. You don't really need to use CVD. I like to use CVD when I can't really read it. And today's not a bad example. Like, it's hard to kind of read. There's buying and selling in here. So what's the overall? Yeah, and also I'm really kind of a firm believer in a few things about indicators. Number one is they are a confluence. They're not a signal. Read the order flow first. Okay, the indicator will give you additional insight to the order flow. Right, but the order flow rules. And then secondly, really understand and know what your indicator is displaying. Okay, if you don't know it, then you don't know what you're doing, is how I kind of feel. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just reading something and it's like, what does that mean? And then once I understand what it means, then I can put it into context. Okay, so for example, understanding divergences, you can really understand what a divergence means. You're going to get divergence here, because here, for example, look, buyers, lots of buying. Look at CVD. Okay, this kind of equals out the buyers and sellers in here, but CVD, going, up to the upside here. Well, there's divergence. I mean, price did make one tick higher, but you get the concept here. There's some selling, just dropped a little bit, but why? You should see price go up to like here based on this CVD reading. Well, it didn't, because it was absorbed by a lot of buyers in here. In fact, we're probably going to see an iceberg in here, and we do. This is an iceberg, so they're absorbing right in front of that high liquidity. Okay, so there's your absorption, and you're understanding, wow, there was CVD. Why is there a divergence here in CVD reading versus price? Well, now you just learned a ton about what's going on here, plus not just the absorption, but the icebergs. Okay, there's an iceberg in here. Right, so now we know that. Okay, and they're trading in here. Now, if we can't get through here, this 94, I'm looking for sellers down here at 93.5. Okay, and in this micro range. And if we get enough sellers down here, then I'm looking for the move back down into this liquidity down here, 92.25. Okay, trade it into it, and then we get kind of a move back down. It didn't get down quite to that liquidity, but anyway, that's the idea. Okay, so we were looking for 95.5. We're up there, top of the range. Okay, that was all based on this reading in here of that range that we're looking at, this range in here, right? And then the point of control, right here. So this could actually be moved down a little bit more, but anyway. Yeah, I've never really used CVD for entering and exiting either. Okay, whoa, I'm a little sorry behind the questions in here. Pradigi, welcome. Looks like you're new in here. Yeah, there you go. Doug, thanks for helping out there. Stops and icebergs. Also, Pradigi, also you might want to look at that educational course I showed you earlier. It's under bonus materials on our YouTube channel. CVD is cumulative volume delta, Ukrainian New Yorker. Thanks, Doug. MBO showing stops and icebergs. Yep. And Pradigi, so yeah, you can access, if there's not 50 in here, looks like there are, so we're kind of filled up, I think, or maybe there's still some space in here, yeah, that's why we're over on YouTube instead, so you can watch it on YouTube. All right. Very choppy action last week as well, Monday and Tuesday at least. Okay, but one of the things, like, we're still looking for this here on the higher time frame, this scenario here. Right, now look where we are. So there were buyers down here. We were thinking the third time at least when we saw sellers down here, we're looking for them to get down to the bottom of the range at 88, I think, or 86, I think it was, and then the break down to 80. Okay, well, we got more buyers. They came back in. Where did they go? Top of the range here. Okay, now we're up into these wicks up here. Okay, now we got to go through a couple scenarios in here on the higher time frame. Okay, because we're not going to get much out of the 15-minute chart, I don't think, nor we're getting a little bit out of the 5-minute. We have a swing up here. Now we're looking to see if we get buyers back up above this area to try to carry it back up to 3,900 or maybe even higher, 05, or '08, whatever, up in here, these where we found sellers previously, ranges here, right? Now we've come up to the top of this range. Okay, so now we need to see, is this a false breakout here? And looking for sellers to come right back in and trade it back down to point of control of this range here. So maybe back down to here around 92 or so. Okay, and it's actually, yeah, 93. Okay, so we're at the top of this range here in Bookmap. Okay, yeah, David, you're looking at 3909 on SPX. Well, it's still going higher here. We don't have any reasoning for this to yet to try to drop back down and trade back down into the range in the POC, or back down into the middle of the range down here again, or other side of the range. We don't have any. We're still seeing buyers here. So kind of looking for 3,900. All right, now this is what we want to watch though, pretty closely. At least I'll be watching it closely. Is here, somewhere around in here, our 95.50 that we were looking for that test to. We're looking to see if we can get our sellers down here. This is a false breakout, and then sellers really come in and pound it back down to the middle of the range. Okay, so here they come. And let's see it, sellers. Let's see, here's a retest already. So this is order flow here. We're looking at order flow here at the top of a range on this 5-minute chart. Okay, and we're looking for it to reject up here and to come back down into the range. All right, so we're looking for sellers in here. Looking for more supply here at lower area, which is it's kind of doing, not really doing it, but somewhat. And then a few sellers in here. Yeah, I'd take this. I think I would take this here. It's not a trade recommendation, but yeah, I'm just looking for this to hit down into 95.5 and retest where it broke out from, and then a continuation right below our 95.5. The offer is starting to show here at 98, etc. And I want to see sellers actually blaze through this area here, right through it, like no bounce at all. I want to see them disrupt it and maybe a trap, right, and come back down into this range here. So this breakout here becomes the trap. Okay, we've seen it a million times, so we're looking for it. We're looking for it to break catastrophically right back down to basically 93, or even this one down here, so our 91-ish area here, right? Okay, so point of control is where? Here. Okay, so we're looking for that to test as well here. Okay, around 93. All right, so this is a move from outside of the range back into the range. Right, and then the directional move is from inside of the range to the outside and continuation. All right, so this is now what's nice about this move here is you can take this, trade it back down into maybe 93. You could take some profit, and you could maybe take some profit down at 88. However, you might look at read the order flow though. It'll tell you or give you the insight that you might get the break of 88 at this point, right? So you can even hold it. The thing that it goes with this is the considerations I'm talking about in terms of the trade management, that you can hold this for a bigger move. okay, to go along with this scenario that we were talking about earlier. We're at the top of this range. We're looking for rejection. We're looking for the move back in, but now we can also test not only the bottoms, but we can break it and get down to 88 or 80. I'm sorry, 38.80. Right. So, you know, watch closely and manage your trade accordingly. All right. So you can see this is starting to work. It's already into the range here. So now we're looking for the sellers to trade it from the outside in to value, okay, into just the most traded area down in here. So it's, you know, it's where we kind of outlined. We had the 93, and then we also have this 91 here, and that's what we're looking for. All right. All right, guys, so this one went over. I know Tom has already started. Tom B starts at 11:30. Guys, he'll be doing it every day here. So we'll just for an hour and a half every day. We kind of changed up his schedules a little bit. You know, we were just kind of blessed and very nice treat to have him like for 4.5 hours, 4 hours a day. It's just not sustainable. I'm relieved just personally that he is not going for 4 hours a day. Even like last week we thought, well, we'll cut his, you know, we'll cut our hours back and we'll do 3 hours for just Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And we decided, let's try this. Let's try this every day for an hour and a half. So at least every day you get something. All right, guys. Oh, good. Yeah, thanks, David. Thanks, McLoco. Yeah, Doug, you're still looking for the reverse lower on that spot gamma. Yep, I agree. Hopefully we can see this a continuation. It's really been bouncy. This trade is still on, though, or this trade idea here. Boy, I don't know. I think it's testing my break even right now, somewhere around in here. You know, and you can see what this is. Just, it's not a trade recommendation, right? You know, this is like we're just kind of reading the order flow, and this is now starting to not work out. Okay, so then you know you maybe we almost got down to 93 or point of control here, and then you can see buyers coming in and supporting it, and it's bounced back up. Okay. Well, we look for that not to happen, and then we look for you could take it again, right? So maybe you got stopped out at break even or break even +1 or something, right? And then you can look again for this same setup in here, and then the continuation, right? So this way, like yeah, you're adding to your broker's pocket, but you're really reducing your risk. You're looking for it to move. Really reduce your risk, because with the order flow, that's the benefit we have, that you're looking for it to move now, because you have the edge of looking at order flow. And yeah, if it doesn't work out, it didn't work out. Take the next one when the next one presents. All right. So yeah, thanks, guys. Well, we'll wrap it up. So I'll be away. I will not be tomorrow, nor Friday. But Jay Trader will be in on Wednesday. We have Sam, who will be covering the webinars with Jay Trader, and Scott. Scott is actually away this Thursday as well. So note that. And then the week after, I'm also away. All right, so but Sam will be in for Scott and Jay Trader as well. All right. Yeah, thanks for coming, everybody. If you like this video, please give us a thumbs up. That really helps us out here. We look at those, and we're gonna, we can do more and more live analysis and get other traders in here as well. Build out our trader network. Yeah, give us a like. And subscribe to the channel if you want to come in and get access to all these things alerts, etc. Okay. Thanks, guys. Take care. Have a great week. And look for Sam, or jump over to Tom B at 11:30 daily. And then Sam will be in hosting with Scott and Jay Trader. Okay. Yeah. Thanks, guys. Take care.